Hello, my name is Jeff Dowdy, and today I'm going to do a quick overview about finding articles on Galileo. So my topic that I'm going to use today is ceiling, uh, the glass ceiling in state and local government. So you could go in and just do a quick search of Galileo, with these terms. But I want to explain a little bit about how you might could adjust your search to have more relevant results. Um, so what this is actually doing is it's going in and searching each of these as just a keyword term. So the and glass and ceiling, etc. So you may get a few things that are relevant, but there are ways that you can go in and be a little bit more purposeful in how you search. So I'm going to go to the advanced search just so you can see a little bit more what I'm doing. So what I would typically do is take a research question, and a lot of times it's going to be a little bit more complex than this, and I'm going to break it down by topics within my question. So the one that immediately jumps out is the glass ceiling, and that's a pretty unique terminology. So I'm going to go in and take this out for now, and I'm just going to search glass ceiling. So this is a keyword search for glass and ceiling. The reason that I'm separating it out is because I want to know what terminology is specifically related to this part of my research question. So what I will do is I'll go through and I'll look at my results, and I'll look to see in the title, in this little blurb that Galileo will capture, and then the subject line to see if it matches what I expected. So if I'm looking through, I can notice that, okay, glass ceiling is coming back pretty regularly, and even the from the looks of the description, I can see that it has to do with um, quality and hiring, has to do with, I can see this is the different phrases here that are associated with my topic. So there's a few things that you can do from here. You can simply say, okay, this is relevant, and change it to a phrase. So anytime in Galileo, if you put it in double quotes, it's going to treat it as a phrase. So whereas here I have 827,000 results, if I treat this as a phrase by putting it in quotes, you can see that it's going to narrow down my search pretty drastically. Another thing that you can do, and a lot of times what I will take is I will open up a notepad, or I will open up Microsoft Word, and I will capture anything that I feel like is related. So for example, here I have this wording, discrimination in employment. Well, I might write this down and think, okay, I want to try that later. And then also this glass ceiling, employment discrimination, that's also relevant to my search. Okay, but what I'm really hoping to find is I want to find terminology, terminology that is related to my search. How could I what other ideas could I use in my search to get at relevant results? All right, and I'm gonna make note of these so that I could come back and vary my search at a later time. Don't get convinced that the one terminology that you're using is the only way to search something. And this is particularly important because this is not the only aspect of our search. We also have state and local government. And so when we go to combine terminology for state and local government and glass ceiling, we want to have options for ways we might could word that. All right. Um, the next thing that is important to note is that you can see that when you click in the result list, right? When you click into the result list, you're going to have what's called a subject term. And notice the difference between keyword and subject term. So a keyword means any occurrence of your search in the article. So that would mean that if it occurs in the title, subject, abstract in the full text of the article, then you're going to get it as a result. Whereas a subject term, see how few there are? So these are specifically selected as what would be like the major topics for this article. So there's very few of these, and they're somewhat broad, and they're also hyperlinked. So if you thought that glass ceiling employment discrimination was relevant, then you could click on it, and it's going to completely redo your search. And so now you notice that we went down to 1,600. So I'm going to click into search history just to show you how this works. So searching keyword glass and ceiling, 827,000. Searching for the phrase glass ceiling, 141,000. Searching specifically the subject term glass ceiling employment discrimination, 1,600. So you can see how we're slowly and actually drastically narrowing down our search. So now we're at 1,648. So, and going back to my notepad, we also have this other option of sex discrimination in employment, or just sex discrimination as another option for us to search. So now I'm going to go to new search, and I'm going to search state and local government. So as I've searched this state and local government, I want to go through the same kind of process. I want to look through and see, does my search bring up relative results? Well, one thing you can notice here that we have 12 million results. So that is huge. And part of the reason is because all of our terms are pretty generic: state and local and government. And that's the way it's searching. Now, it's definitely giving favor to our terms occurring in the same order. And so you can see, or occurring in a key part of the result. So you can see that state local governments is in the title, is drawing this one up to the top. So I could look through this and think about, how could I narrow this down? Well, I noticed that in this one, it says local government, state governments in the subject line. And remember, the subjects are specifically selected. They're standardized, so they're the same across multiple items. And I see, though, that it is separated, local government and state governments. Well, so there's a few ways that we could handle this. One would be to go to the advanced search, and I could do state government, local government, and separate those out. But what this does is it means that it has to include both the phrase state government and local government. So, but there's a lot that does include both of these, but you may find that when you add in other elements of your search that you need either of these. You don't have to necessarily have both of these. So you could use an or here, and that's going to expand it out. So now we have 4 million, but notice the reason why you would do that. 188,000 plus another item is going to reduce it. So you may want to keep it broad enough so that you can add in another term. So so that's important to note. Now, what I would probably do here is go to new search, search history, and I would take this search, state government or local government, and I would like to try it with this subject of glass ceiling. So here we have a very narrow search, and then here was our broad 4 million search. So the chances of us finding this subject within this are higher than finding it within this one. So, and I'm going to click search with and. So now we have 15 results. So, but of these 15, we're likely to find some pretty good results. So now, within this 15, I would probably look through these. You can hover here and get a quick view of the article, the abstract, which is like a summary of the article. And then if you are thinking, okay, I would like to check this one out, then you could drop it into this folder. So I would look through these, drop it into the folder. Another thing that you want to consider though as you go through these is always review. Like if this one, the glass ceiling in politics, if it has some promising terminology, you always want to capture these. So, you may want to click on these and run a new search, but or jot them down in your notepad, but you want to keep some record of what you're learning as you go. Um, Always know that you can go back and search history. So I clicked on that, but if I wanted to go back to this search, I can go back and search history and view those. Okay, so just know that that's how you kind of can go back and forth. Now, I want to go back, since 15 was pretty narrow, I want to go back and do a different search. So now I want to go back and see this one, which was the state government or local government, which had the 4 million results. And instead of using the subject, I just want to use the phrase of glass ceiling. So a key strategy is varying your search. So here I'm going to vary my search. Instead of using a subject, I'm going to use the broader and just use the keyword phrase. So now we have 6,200. Okay, so another thing to consider beyond terminology is to consider type. A lot of times I like to, so if you go here by type, it can show you all the different types of results that you have. So one thing you may want to consider is, instead of jumping right into a research article, which is going to be very narrow in focus, the population is going to be super narrow, you may want to read about your topic a little bit, do some background research. News and magazines are a great source of background research. So here I can go in, news and magazines, and now I have the 1,440. So another thing to consider here is date. If I want to read what is currently being written about the glass ceiling in local government, then I probably want to draw up the date. I'm going to go 2015 with this date limit. So I just type it in and hit enter. So now I have 218 results that have the phrase glass ceiling and state government or glass ceiling and local government. And so we could go through and kind of review these just to see, what's being written about my topic. You can, and it's going to typically follow this pattern of the author and then where it was published and the date, which those things are important, that you would know kind of where they're writing about this. You'll notice that Galileo typically draws from a wide variety of sources. So if you don't want to have international results, then you're probably going to have to modify your search a little bit to include either the phrase United States or specific states in your search. After you've kind of read about your search, then you're going to want to move on to maybe some more academic results. So I'm going to exit out of these by clicking on the X next to news and magazines. That's going to take me back to that broader search, and now I can begin to look at some different type. Don't skip over one more important search though. It can be important to go into ebooks and books and update, because that's going to give you maybe a little bit more historical perspective, something that's broader in scope. When I do that, I like to really focus on what's published in a university press, because this is a popular topic. It can be written about in some more popular publishing, but university press is usually a good way to get at some quality sources. So, such as this one, Alabama Politics in the 21st Century, published by the University of Alabama Press. So, this is an ebook. That means you can access it online. I'd suggest not using